Good morning, students. I'm Ms. Rukmanisha. I welcome you to my YouTube video for starting our the topic where we have left in our previous video. Okay, from chapter 3, the Planty Kingdom. So in Planty Kingdom, we have completed till now the characteristic and salient features of the Planty Kingdom, and then the major 5 groups, out of which we have completed algae and bryophytes and pteridophytes. So today we'll be completing the 2 other major kingdoms, that is Gymnosperm and Angiosperm. Alright, so Gymnosperms are those plants or those trees who bear seeds, but their seeds are not covered with any coat. Okay, so it is uncovered seed. So the meaning of the name itself is naked seed. Okay, Gymnos stands for naked, and Gymnos stands for naked, and sperma stands for seed. It means that the seed has no seed coat, okay, no cover. Alright, now why is it so? How it is formed? Because the ovules, why the seeds are naked here? Because the ovules are not surrounded by ovary wall. As we know, in female reproductive organ in plants, we have ovary and then style and stigma, like this. Inside this ovary we have ovule, and inside the ovule we have the embryo, okay, which carries the egg cell. Now this ovary wall, this ovule generally converts into seed, and this ovary wall converts into fruits. Okay, and gymnosperms are the plants which do not bear fruits. Okay, so the trees which you see around which do not bear fruits, it can either be a male angiospermic plants or it can be gymnosperm plants. Okay, so this plants, female reproductive organ, it do not have ovary wall. That wall is not present, so that's why a fruit is not formed, and above that the seed coat is also not formed around the ovule. Okay, so and this is the reason why the seed is naked. And it includes which group of plants? It includes the medium-sized trees and tall trees and also shrubs. Alright, and the tallest tree is in gymnosperm is known as the sequoia tree, and this sequoia tree is the redwood tree, a very giant tree which is known as which comes in the major group of gymnosperm. Now, how is the roots of this gymnosperm? These roots are taproot in nature. Gymnospermic plants have taproots, and some of the roots are found in fungal association. Fungal association with mycorrhiza. Example, pinus. Pinus are the pine trees which you see around, okay, around our place, around our surrounding, the pine plants which we see, they are the pinus. And their roots, in their roots you will find their roots are in association with fungus called mycorrhiza, the symbiotic relation, and in that way they provide each other the nutrition. Okay, they are in symbiotic relation. And also they are some of the roots which are known as coralloid roots are in association with cyanobacteria. Cyanobacteria, which cyanobacteria is a nitrogen fixing bacteria. They then fix the nitrogen from the atmosphere for the plants, and that is how the plants get nitrogen from the atmosphere. Okay, so example, you find them in cycas. Cycas are the plants which you see generally in your garden areas, where the pointy leaves which do not have branch, and the leaf immediately comes from the stem body. Okay, and they are not tall plants. They are shrub type plants. Okay, the figure you can see in your textbook how cycles appears, and then you will understand that you have observed this plant in your daily life. Now, how is their stems? Stems are unbranched, as I have just told you about the cycas. They don't have branch stem. So here is the stem, and from the stem directly the leaves they grow. Pointy leaves in cycas. And some of the stems are branched, such as in pinus and cedrus. Another example is given, cedrus. In cedrus and pinus, the stems are branched like the regular trees. This is a stem will form a branch. Then in that branch, the leaves you'll see the leaves. Okay. Next, leaves are, the nature of leaves are simple, compound, and some are modified. Like some leaves are modified needle-like how we see pine trees leaf and cycas plants leaf. It's needle-like, pointed, and it has a thick cuticle. Thick cuticle means leaf is covered with a waxy layer, so that the water is not excess water is not transpired from the leaf. So to reduce the loss of water. Okay, and sunken stomata. Sunken stomata means the stomata is present in the leaf but not in the top epidermal layer. It is somewhere in the between, at the bottom of the leaf. Okay, so generally you have studied that stomatas are present in the epidermal layer of the leaf. But here in case of gymnosperms, plants which are modified to survive in the extreme conditions, the leaves, in the spiny leaves, you'll find stomatas are deep inside the leaf, okay, not in the uppermost layer. So you find these modifications are to survive in the extreme condition to reduce water loss. So examples are conifer plants. Okay. Now simple leaves and compound leaves you have studied earlier also. Simple leaves having a pedicle, and compound leaves can be branched like this, leaves which are like this. Leaves which are furthermore branched, like you have seen in neem plant and in berry plants, and leaves are like this. These all are compound leaves. Okay? Then the gymnosperm, they bear heterosporous spores. They produce heterosporous spores. It means the male gamete and female gamete, if you can recall from the previous one homosporous and heterosporous. Homosporous means when the spores which are released by the sporophytes are all same in size, and heterosporous when the spores are released by the sporophyte which are of different size. One is big, one is small in size. So here we'll see that a structure called sporangia which is a part of a modified leaf sporophyll, which become a compact structure such as strawberry or cone. Okay, so a sporangia is a part of sporophyll which becomes a cone-shaped structure which we call strawberry or cone. So inside which you will find this spore bearing, they are the spore bearing structure. Okay, these are the spore bearing structure, and when they produce the spores, those spores can be of two different size. Okay, one is big in size which we call megaspore. They will be haploid. Haploid means having one set of chromosome. And microspores are small in size, they are also haploid. So the structure which bears, like this is a common name of the structure which bears these two spores. So the structure which bears megaspore is known as megasporangia. The bag-like structure which bears megaspore is known as megasporangia. Alright, together they are known as macrosporangiate. We call female strawberry. The same manner for male microsporophyll. The structure which bear these microspores are called microsporophyll or microsporangia. These are names you should know. And microsporangiate. Or male strawberry. This is the common term, but for female, this will be termed, these are the special terms for same structures. Okay, and for male, these are the terms used for these structures. Inside this structure, this female gametophyte will form. Female gametophyte will form, and inside this male strawberry, male gametophyte will form. Now, this female megaspore is derived from megaspore mother cell is derived from nucellus. Cells which are called nucellus, they are diploid, and from that structure female mother cell is produced, and this nucellus will differentiate and they will form megaspore mother cell. In short, I am writing MMC, megaspore mother cell, and they are covered by this nucellus is surrounded by ovule. Protected by ovule. So this ovule is known as the megasporophyll. Alright, megasporophyll. And they cluster together. Many megasporophyll will cluster together to form female cone. You must have seen in gymnosperm plants cones. Cones are available there, so you must have observed cones. So in one cone, when plant bears this cone, so in this cone, every chamber has ovule. So it is not only one cone will not bear only one female gametophyte. So female cone, this female cone is a clustered. Clustered means many ovules will come together, many megasporophyll will come together, and inside ovule what is there? Megaspore mother cell is there, and that megaspore mother cell is formed by the nucellus cells, okay, which is diploid in nature. Now what happens here? The megaspore mother cell will go through meiosis division. Okay, will go through meiosis division and will form 4 megaspores. 4 megaspores. And out of which 3 will degenerate and 1 megaspore, 1 functional megaspore will remain, and that 1 functional megaspore is known as female gametophyte. Next, in case of male also, the male and the female cones can be in the same tree. Like just now we have seen the cones, that is a female cone. So like that, male cones are also there, where microsporophylls are present, okay, inside which the male gametophyte are present. So this male cone and female cone can be in the same tree, as we see in pinus plant, and in some plants it can be in different trees. Male cones will be one tree and the female cones will be in other trees, such as in cycas we see, okay. And these two gametophyte, the male gametophyte and the female gametophyte, they are independent. They are not independent. They are dependent on this sporophyte. So sporophyte means the main plant. Okay. So in the main, in the main plant, this male gametophyte and the female gametophytes are found, or separately. In one sporophyte, that means in the main plant. So here may be the male and here may be the female in separate plants. Okay. Or the male and female can be in the same plants. Okay. So pollen is released from the pollen grain is released from the male cone. From the male cone, the pollen will be released to the air and it will come in the contact with the opening of the ovule. Okay, here is the female cone and here is the male cone. So male cone will release the pollen and it will come in contact with the ovule. Okay, the pollen will released and in direction female and male. The pollen will reach to the ovule and it will do the pollen germination. Pollen tube will form, and here is the egg, suppose. Okay, inside each ovule there are so many ovules. So inside each ovule there will be eggs. So it will come in contact with the egg by the help of pollen tube, and it will fertilize it and will form zygote. Okay, and this zygote will develop into embryo, and the ovules will develop into seed. The entire part will develop into a seed. Okay, each of them, each megasporophyll will develop into seed. Okay, suppose there are 10 ovules or 10 megasporophyll in one cone. Okay, in this one female cone there are 10. So out of this 10, from different plants or from here, many pollens will fall on this, and all the 10 egg cell will be fertilized. Then from one female cone, 10 seeds will be produced. Each ovules get converted into seed and the zygote will convert into an embryo. Okay. So zygote will convert into an embryo and ovules will convert into seeds. So this is what we see in gymnosperm. Now we'll see angiosperm. the last major group, Angiosperm, is a flower bearing plants and the major group of flowering plants, and they have this special structure which bears male organ and female organ, which we call flower. Right? Flower bears the special structure, male organ and female organ, which we call stamen and pistil. And majority of the plants are angiosperm plants. Okay, majority of the trees which bears flowers, because they opt for sexual reproduction, and also they bear lots of variations. Okay, compared to gymnosperm, same plants pollen grain falls on the same plant's ovule, so the variations are very less seen. Whereas in angiosperm plants, because they bear flower, there are so many pollinating agents. The birds, the insect, they pollinate the pollen grain from different plants. They bring the pollen grain, different variety of the same kind of plant from different trees, and they bring the pollen grain to other plants, and that is how the variation comes. But in case of gymnosperm, that variation we don't see. So this flower bears the seeds, which are enclosed with fruits. Seeds are enclosed in fruits. Okay, so because in angiosperm, like how we have seen in gymnosperm, female reproductive part, it has this stigma, style, and then ovary and ovule. So in gymnosperm, this ovary was not present, right? But in angiosperm, this ovary is present. Okay, this is ovary wall, which we call. So ovary wall was not present in gymnosperm, but here ovary wall is present, and this ovule. So ovule converts into seed, and ovary wall will convert into fruit. So seed is enclosed inside the fruit, and also seed has coat. Okay, which seed coat is present. Now most of the some plants can be very small, such as some of the angiosperm plants can be very small, such as wolfia, and some of the plants can be very tall, like eucalyptus. Okay, and the purpose of the significance of this angiosperm in our life is, these plants, they help in producing lots of food to us. Okay, like how honeybee is dependent on angiosperm plants, flowering plants, and then they produce honey, which is a very important food for us, and they are fodder for many animals. Okay, and from some flowering plants we can also obtain fuel and medicines and other products, other commercial products. So now we will see that angiosperm plants have two classes of plants. They are monocot plants and dicot plants. Okay, I'll differentiate it in this. The angiosperm plants have two classes. Monocot plants and dicot plants. So monocot plant and dicot plants are on the basis of the seeds. So in monocots, the seeds have one cotyledon. Okay, and in dicot, the seeds have two cotyledons. Like in maize or corn, it is composed of only one whole structure. But when you open a chickpeas or gram seed, you open the cover and you will find two parts inside, and those two parts are what? Cotyledons, which we eat actually. That part of the chana or that part of the gram seeds which we eat. When you open the cover and you find two parts inside, and those two parts are cotyledons. Okay, so monocot plants have one cotyledon and dicot plants have two cotyledons. And the leaf also, in monocot plants, the leaves are of parallel venation. These venations you have studied. When leaves have this parallel arrangement of the veins. Okay, when the leaves, rice leaf you have seen how rice leaves are, how maize leaves are. So this leaves, they have parallel venation, and here they have reticulate venation. Reticulate venation means leaves arrangement is like this. And flowers are tetramerous and pentamerous, and here flowers are trimerous. And monocot flowers are trimerous, and here flowers are pentamerous. Means the whorl arrangement. Whorl arrangement means the arrangement of petals and arrangement of the male reproductive organ, female reproductive organ. On the basis of that, we call tetramerous and pentamerous flower, which we will see in the flowering plants arrangement. Okay, when we will study the angiosperm plants arrangement, we will study the morphological structure of angiosperm plants, and in detail you will see what does trimerous and tetramerous, pentamerous means. The arrangement of petals, sepals, and the reproductive organ, on the basis of that, the flower can be tetramerous, pentamerous. Now coming to the flower sex organ. So we have female sex organ and male sex organ. So female sex organ is known as pistil, male sex organ is known as stamen. Female bears ovary wall, ovule, that is this is a part of ovary, stigma and style. Okay, drawing it again. This part is ovary, style, and this part is stigma. Okay, in male it bears a filament and anther. Okay, so a filament and an anther. So inside this anther, the male gametophyte is produced. Okay. Now inside this structure we have this pollen mother cell. Okay, we have cells which are known as pollen mother cell, which are diploid. Okay, pollen mother cell. So what this pollen mother cell do? They go through meiosis division and they produce microspores, or we say pollen grains. Okay, and these pollen grains are haploid in nature. This PMC stands for pollen mother cell. So inside this structure, inside this anther. Now here in ovary we have ovule inside, and inside this ovule, this is ovule. Inside this ovule we have megaspore mother cell. Okay, this megaspore mother cell will go through, which is diploid. Diploid means having two sets of chromosomes. Okay, so a diploid, and they go through meiosis division and they produce 4 megaspores. Like here also they produce 4 microspores, because after meiosis division from one mother cell 4 daughter cell comes, and after meiosis division here also from one mother cell 4 daughter cell comes. 4 megaspores will be produced, and out of this 4, 3 will degenerate. It will vanish. 3 of the megaspore will vanish, they will degenerate, they will be of no use, they don't remain anymore valid. Only one will remain functional, which we call megaspore. And this one functional megaspore will develop an embryo sac. Okay, one functional megaspore will develop into an embryo sac through cell division, through nuclear division. So it has a nucleus in it, and that nucleus will divide and divide and divide, and through that nuclear division it will have 8 nucleus. Okay, because we know that one cell will have only one nucleus, but through multiple nuclear division, so one nucleus has divided into how many? One nucleus has divided into 1 to 2, 2 to 4, and 4 to 8. Okay, so it has developed 8 nucleus, and that 8 nucleus will develop around them the plasma membrane, and it will develop 8 cell, like this. So now in one cell, within this one cell, how many cells you see? It is 8 cells. Okay, so it is called, this embryo is called 8-celled structure. Okay, sorry, 7-celled 8 nucleus structure, where this 3 is the 3 antibodal cells, and these are 2 polar nuclei, and this 3 is known as egg apparatus. And in this 3 egg apparatus, what you see, one of them is egg cell. This one, I'm highlighting it. This one is egg cell. One egg cell is there, and this 2 is 2 synergid cells. In detail, you will be learning about this embryo sac in angiosperm chapter, in the morphology of the angiosperm chapter. We have one chapter completely on angiosperm. Okay, so we'll try to complete this part here. During fertilization, what happens now? This pollen grain, this embryo sac, this is an embryo sac. This embryo sac is part of what? The female reproductive organ, right? Female reproductive organ. Inside this ovule, this embryo sac is present. Now this pollen grain will fall on this stigma. This pollen grain which is formed, this pollen grain which is formed will fall on the stigma, and it will do the pollen germination, and it will release 2 male gametes. This pollen grain will release 2 male gametes inside. How many? 2. Okay, 2 male gametes are released inside this pollen tube. And inside this ovule, this is an ovule. What do you see? This embryo. Okay, embryo sac is like this. Alright, this is how the embryo sac is inside this ovule. Now, what happens during the fertilization? This one I am showing you here. While the fertilization is happening, this antipodal cells and the synergid cells, and here we have egg cell, and here we have polar nuclei. So what happens here? While the fertilization is happening, okay, while this is called pollination, when pollen grain is transferred from anther to stigma. This is stigma. So when pollen grain is transferred from anther to stigma, this is pollination. So when the pollination takes place in pollen germination, and this tube formation is known as pollen germination. So when this pollen germination is taking place and this male gamete is about to enter the embryo sac, then this antipodal cell will vanish and this polar nuclei will fuse together. And it will become what? So each of them are haploid, so it will become diploid. Okay, polar nuclei will fuse together and only egg cell will remain. So this cells will vanish, degenerate, and synergid cells will vanish, degenerate. Okay, so antipodal cells and synergid cells will vanish and degenerate, whereas only the polar nuclei and the egg cell will remain. So the two male gametes which we see here, so one male gamete will fertilize with this, and the other male gamete will fertilize with this. So now the male gamete is fertilizing with this, so it will become, so male gamete is also haploid, so one male gamete is joining. So egg cell is also haploid, here egg cell is haploid, so another male gamete is joining here, it is fertilizing. So it will become triploid and this will become diploid. Okay, so when male gamete fertilizes with the polar nuclei, it becomes secondary nucleus, which we call primary PEN, primary endosperm nucleus. And when male gamete fertilizes with the egg cell, we call it as zygote. Okay, so PEN will develop into endosperm and zygote will develop into embryo. And the role of endosperm is to nourish the embryo to develop into a new individual. Okay, the role of endosperm is to nourish the embryo to develop into a new individual, and this embryo will be surrounded by a seed coat. Okay, seed coat, and seed is surrounded by fruits. Okay, because this embryo is inside. See, this is an embryo which I am showing you here. So this is surrounded by ovary wall, and this ovary wall will convert into, ovary wall will become fruit in future. Okay, so that is how we get fruit from angiospermic plants, and some fruits are edible, some fruits are not edible, but they are beared by the angiospermic plants. Okay, so here we come to the conclusion of this chapter. And since you can notice one thing, that since two male gametes are fertilizing, one is fertilizing with this and one male gamete is fertilizing with this, so this is called double fertilization. So double fertilization is a unique feature of the angiospermic plant that you should remember. Okay, so here we come to the end of this chapter, and if you have any doubt, please note it down, and you can ask me individually. All the sooner or later, I always reply to your answers and to your questions and to your doubts. Okay, thank you and have a good day ahead.